Hi, I'm Christina, and this is a book review of Everyone Dies Famous in a Small Town by Bonnie-Sue Hitchcock. So, this is her second novel and it was published in 2021. I read her debut novel back in 2018 and I absolutely loved it. It's called The Smell of Other People's Houses, and I just thought it was such a wonderful book. It was such an emotive, moving reading experience, and it really stayed with me, and I thought it was a very impactful read, and I knew that I was definitely going to read whatever she published next, which is this one. And yeah, it was one of my most highly anticipated releases of 2021. I'm only getting around to reading it now, and yeah, I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I enjoyed it just as much as her debut novel. I definitely want to reread her debut novel. But yeah, I thought it was just absolutely excellent. It's a definite 5-star read for me. So I absolutely love the title of this book, Everyone Dies Famous in a Small Town. I found it so intriguing and it really drew me in. Much like the title of her debut novel, The Smell of Other People's Houses, just really drew me in, and I think it's such a great, impactful title. And as you would expect, this story does focus on people who live in small towns, and that is a theme and a trope that I really enjoy. It's always something that I've enjoyed reading about. And she sets this story in the 1990s, and it's set in Alaska and the western part of America. And we see lots of different people who live in these small towns and these small communities. So Bonnie-Sue Hitchcock herself is an Alaskan author, so she definitely paints the setting really, really well. It feels really, really real, and I think she is a very atmospheric writer. I think her settings are absolutely wonderful. And in terms of her writing, I think she writes so beautifully. It's so captivating. I was so engaged, and yeah, I just really, really enjoyed it. So in terms of her characters, we see from 9 different perspectives, and the story really reads most like a collection of short stories. So we see from 9 distinct people, and they have their own distinct chapters, and then she just weaves all of these stories together to make this complete narrative, and it just works so well. She puts it all together seamlessly, and you see one person's perspective, and then in the next chapter or one of the next chapters you see kind of another side to them and another part of their perspective, and it just works so well. I love the way in which she's tied all of these characters together. She's woven it all together so well, and yeah, it just works. So I was definitely very connected to these characters. I thought it was done so well, and it's such a fast-paced read for me. I actually read this book in a single sitting, which I don't do very much anymore. I don't really have the time for it, but I just spent an entire evening just sitting and reading this book, and I absolutely devoured it. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I read it in a matter of hours, and yeah, I couldn't put it down. I thought it was so engaging and so captivating. So it is definitely a character-driven story rather than a plot-driven story. There isn't loads of plot, but there is a lot of characters. And yeah, I think her characters are definitely at the heart of her stories, much the same in her debut novel. And yeah, I thought it was great. So I would highly recommend you read this one. So one of the quotes that really stood out to me, and is a major theme in this book, is, "In a small town, you are forever defined by the worst thing that ever happened to you." And we see that portrayed across so many different characters. And I'll just give you a little snippet of some of the characters that we meet. So we meet a teenage girl who has lost her mother, and she is grieving, and her father is now dating another woman, and this woman has a very young girl, a daughter, and she's trying to forge a relationship with these people whilst also grieving and being very angry about the whole situation. And then the little girl herself is called Poppy, and she is also kind of grieving because her best friend has gone missing. She's been, we presume, abducted. She's disappeared, and she's struggling to cope with that. And she has an imaginary friend who is a mermaid called Elizabeth, and that's kind of her coping mechanism with that. And then we also see 2 girls who are like camp counselors, and they are from Alaska, but they don't feel like they know all of these values that Alaskan people do, and they feel a little bit out of place. So they're kind of two teenage girls as well. And then we also have a girl who is in a relationship with a boy for a few years, and they're kind of struggling in their relationship, and it's going towards a kind of breakup situation. And we just have so many other characters too. So we have a young man, we'd say. He's a teenage boy who is wondering about his best friend who was left very suddenly, and they shared a first kiss together, and this is always on his mind about why he's left. And yeah, just so many people, so many characters, and so many of these characters kind of interlink and weave together, and it just works so well. So obviously the quote I just said, in a small town you're forever defined by the worst thing that's ever happened to you, that obviously suggests that there are a lot of dark themes in this book, and they definitely are, but I think they're handled very well. And I'll just give you a little idea. So there's definitely talk of child abuse, especially in relation to the Catholic Church. And then we also have forest fires and how destructive they can be on local communities and just in general. And we have obviously the death of a parent and grieving, and we have lots of kind of dark things as well. We have the topic of homophobia. So all of those things are packed into this novel. So yeah, there's definitely lots of dark themes underpinning this. And I think that really helps you connect with all of these characters, because even though all of these characters think that nothing ever happens in a small town, so many things are actually happening in this town, and it's affecting so many people. And the way in which he kind of puts all these stories together at the end, and you see how every single person interconnects across all of these small towns in this kind of larger community. And yeah, I just thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's a definite 5-star read for me. I am very much looking forward to seeing whatever she writes next, so I will 100% be picking up her third novel. I love the way she writes. It's kind of literary fiction, contemporary at its best for me. I think, yeah, just really good. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you have read this book, I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you've read her debut novel, The Smell of Other People's Houses, I'd love to know your thoughts on that one too. And I am definitely going to be rereading her debut novel, because it's been 4 years now, and I just think it's time for a reread, because I think it's one of my favourite books actually, and I think this one is going to be up there as one of my favourite books of 2022. It was just really good. I think it really packed a punch in a very kind of short novel. It was a very fast read for me, and yeah, I think it's going to stay with me for a long time. So yeah, would highly recommend. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.